Welcome everybody, welcome to 10 Minute Reviews. Jason here bringing you today's video. As always guys, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to check the links down below for links to today's book and anything else that might be applicable. I could use the traffic through the Amazon link, so I definitely appreciate it. The contest is obviously over. It was over almost a month ago. I'm sending out the emails right now to the winners. I do have more signed books, so I will be doing more contests coming up. And thank you very much to our patrons. I'll be sending out those prize winners as well. And otherwise, let's get into today's video. So for today, I want to talk about Industrial Strength Magic by Macronomicon. I'm going to talk about both books 1 and book 2 for the most part, pretty much just talking about the series as a whole. Guys, I really love Macronomicon. He is a ton of fun. The way he writes the dialogue is just funny. It's just funny. It's absolutely hilarious. Generally, the characters are smart-ass, somewhat juvenile, very sarcastic. Pretty much everything that happens to me on a day-to-day basis, though, in my daily life. So, Macronomicon's writing style just really amuses me, really cracks me up. So far, I've loved everything he has written. My only knock on Macronomicon is that he has so many ideas going through his head, and I can tell that he writes because he really likes to write, just loves to write, so he leaves the series hanging because he just moves on to the next thing that's popped into his head, keeps writing that, so we don't really get any kind of resolution to any of the characters. But it's only been a few years, so he might wrap back around, who knows. So anyway, Industrial Strength Magic. So generally Macronomicon tends to write in a lit RPG type of aspect. There is he doesn't write under the harem lit, although this one he's starting to kind of hint a little bit more. But we're in more of a modern-ish world, somewhat of a modern world. They have modern technology, things along those lines, but superpowers exist. Superpowers are a thing, and of course we have superheroes and supervillains. Now the world that he has built off of this, somewhere in the past, some legendary superpowered beings have created and done things that basically broke the world. So outside of these cities and these walled-in cities, the world is basically a wasteland full of superpower created killer robots and superpowered crustaceans, and it's basically just a no man's land, the Badlands. And now we've got our character Paradox. Paradox is actually his name and also the super name that he ends up going by. Now his parents are fairly interesting. His mother is one of the most powerful and well-known superheroes in the city, and his father is one of the most legendary, powerful, and well-known supervillains in the city. They live in the same house. They've got their super lair, or supervillain lair, and Paradox has no powers. Obviously, this would be a boring book and a boring series if he remained with no powers. So, of course, his powers eventually develop, and thanks to his dad's intervention, I suppose you could say, earlier on, he is a mix of magic-ish and superpower-ish with a system kind of put in place, a lit RPG kind of system. He's the only person in this world. It's not a lit RPG world. Just Paradox's power set, the way his father manipulated things, kind of gives him sort of a lit RPG aspect to it. Now what he does is he uses some of the abilities he gains from his superpowers and uses it to build his own battle suit basically. But what he's primarily using his superpowers for is he's using his superpowers to manipulate magic. He theoretically should be able to do magic. He's got the bloodline for the magic. He went through some ritual when he was younger that we do find out about later. But mostly he is a tinker. He is an experimenter, a thinker, a what-ifer, and just likes to mess around and play around with things. And magic is one of those things. And he figures out ways to take magical spells from a grimoire and basically build a piece of tech that will cast these spells for him, and then intertwine that into his superpowered suit, super suit. I don't want to call it like an iron suit because the first one is absolutely not, and is really freaking hilarious what it actually is. Now, again, we've got this whole world that's under threat from all these other outside forces. So even the bad guys, the super bad guys, are not necessarily bad. And Paradox starts to get connections with both sides. With both sides, he's obviously gaining connections with the superheroes, but he's also getting to know a few supervillains. And for the most part, the supervillains are ignored, allowed to operate, even used at times. When it comes to defending during great times of strife, when it comes to defending the city, even the supervillains will be drafted in and expected to fight alongside everybody else to defend the city or to make the city stronger. And that's what Paradox does. He tries to make things better. So he ends up with a couple of small businesses and he kind of grows into bigger businesses, works out some really weird magical stuff, meets some super powered people, some more of the uber super villains that he doesn't want his father to step in and just squash flat, finds out a little bit more about a lot of things within this world. He also discovers, like, say, the prison. The prison is pretty diabolical in some things, such as the emotional support animal they give you. But for the most part, the prison is actually a pretty decent place to be. It's a pretty decent place to be, and people that get sent to the prison, they generally have a good time. Some people actually try and go back to prison. There's nothing actually holding them in. They can walk away at any time, except for the whole emotional support thing. And we even get a few things outside of the city. Now, there's some really superpowered people that we see. We see a couple of really superpowered people die through mysterious circumstances. And the way that sequel.x, which is the second book, the way it ends is pretty interesting as far as what's going to happen throughout the rest of the world, especially as Paradox's powers keep growing. He actually did the math himself at looking at his powers and his abilities and this lit RPG system kind of thing that was put into play. And he realized that there's actually a singularity point. He's trying to figure out ways to hold it off as he misbalances his stats. He tends to start getting a little bit more sociopathic, psychopathic. Eventually he does get an ability that lets him sort of on the fly balance himself as necessary. But he's realized that depending on which path he takes, there's a certain point that no matter what direction he goes, he is going to hit a power level that is basically unstoppable. And, you know, he's basically going to hit the thermonuclear power set and be utterly, completely, 100% impossible to stop and ungodly powerful. He's actually trying to hold off on that, but as he has realized, there's not a whole lot he could do. Possibly he could be used in other ways while he's building up to that power set. Not too sure what's going to happen there. I really hope this is one that Macronomicon actually finishes, so we do find out. Thank you, everybody, for watching. We will catch you next time. Bye now.